As soon as the war ended, they located the one spot on Earth that hadn't been touched by the war and blew it to hell. After the crucible of World War II, the United States emerged as an industrial giant with the ability to create an atomic bomb, a weapon that could completely alter the way the war is fought. The immediate task of the late 1945 included demobilizing more than 10 million service members, transitioning to a peacetime economy, and establishing international order. The atomic bomb secret had been revealed at the same moment, and the United States nuclear monopoly was running out of time. With every month that went by, there appeared to be more pressure to act quickly. Hey there! Welcome to another episode of High Technology. As we go on the darker side of what technology can bring to humanity, make sure to subscribe to this channel to see more videos that will blow your mind. Today we will unpack the story of how Operation Crossroads came to be, an event of what we could only hope would never happen again. The bomb's significance and intended purpose, if any, were difficult for military strategists and leaders to comprehend. The effects of Hiroshima and Nagasaki explosions on radioactivity were not well known at the time, and nuclear strategy had not yet been developed. After achieving a resounding victory, the US military was eager to maintain its advantage. A US military advisor suggested that nuclear weapons be tested on naval vessels to show their durability, the day after Emperor Hirohito submitted to captivity. Thus, according to the official Operation Crossroads report, the idea for the most observed, most photographed, and most talked about scientific test ever done was created. A B-29 Stratofortress carrying a Fat Man nuclear bomb took off from Kwajalein Atoll on July 1st, 1946, and made its way to Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. The United States Armed Forces wondered what conventional weapons would still serve in the atomic age. Even the fleet as a whole had its usefulness suddenly called into question. This operation would be known as Operation Crossroads, and it began when a nuclear bomb with a 23 kiloton yield was exploded on top of a phantom fleet of around 100 ships. One vessel was almost completely unharmed while many others had serious damage. It was the Seas Creek's maritime vessel called famed Prince Eugen. The powerful ship could withstand more than one nuclear blast, but another bomb proved to be more damaging. When the United States dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima on August 6 in Nagasaki just 3 days later, it was the first time that nuclear weapons had been used. The switch from conventional to nuclear armament had barely begun, ushering in a new era of armed conflict. Louis Strauss, the Navy's representative on the Interior Departmental Committee on Atomic Energy, considered the role of naval strength in upcoming battles shortly after the horrifying show of atomic power in Japan and proposed to test nuclear weapons on naval warships. The financing for the military was already in peril as the justification for large fleets in a nuclear-capable world was suddenly questioned. In order to demonstrate the naval battleship still had a place in the US Armed Forces, the Navy's high leadership agreed to conduct the test. Strauss' proposition was simple. To demonstrate the ship's resilience, they would test the range of nuclear missiles on as many targets as they could. The idea could end up being a double-edged sword because the Army has indicated interest in it while also highlighting the Navy's weaknesses. The list of 80 to 100 ships that would be used in the investigation was compiled by the military over the course of around 2 months. The project's name, Operation Crossroads, would represent the transition to an entirely new type of fighting. The next challenging task would be locate a suitable site for the first atomic experiment since the Trinity test in July 1945 and the first nuclear weapon detonation after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Although the power of nuclear weapons was fully known by the end of 1945, nothing was known about their range. Although fallout and radiation's after effects were somewhat known, little was known about how atomic weapons would affect armed naval forces. Finding an appropriate test site proved difficult since it had to be remote but still within the United States or in territory under US control. In addition, the test area needed to be desolate, at least 300 miles from the closest city, with an aviation base nearby and an anchoring that was at least 6 miles away and completely secured. Furthermore, stable cool weather was preferred to keep radioactive materials as tightly packed as possible. The Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands suddenly became a leading contender. However, there were 167 people living on the tiny island. So in March 1946, naval officials addressed the locals to persuade them to leave for a short while as part of an experiment that aimed to put a stop to all major wars. The evacuation of the Bikinians to the ranger station 120 miles away followed their consent. Over the ensuing months, a sizable test fleet consisting of 156 aircraft, 242 target ships, and support boats was constructed. 4 outdated battleships, 2 carriers, 2 cruisers, 13 destroyers, and 8 submarines, and a number of auxiliary ships were among the targets. Notably, the Phantom Fleet included a few former foes from the conflict, including the German Prince Eugen cruiser and the German battleships Nagato and Sakawa. 204 goats, 200 pigs, and 200 mice were among the many test subjects enlisted, but the influence on the battleships was always the main concern. The Crossroads tests were the first nuclear testing to include advanced public announcement and invitations, attracting no fewer than 42,000 military and civilian individuals. The event was outstanding. 3 experiments were intended to be conducted as a part of Operation Crossroads: Able, an airburst; Baker, a shallow underwater detonation; and Charlie, a similar test conducted deep underwater. The test started less than a year after the proposal, with 94 vessels parked in the lagoon, including Prince Eugen. A B-29 Superfortress shattered Dave's Dream on July 1st when it departed from the Quadrillion airstrip with a Fat Man nuclear weapon named Gilda. At a height of 28,000 feet, Dave's Dream dropped the bomb. 48 seconds later, Gilda exploded 520 feet above the target. The fleet was destroyed by the 23 kiloton explosion, which also significantly radioactively contaminated the area. The water surrounding a recent surface explosion will be a witch's brew, as the Los Alamos laboratory had warned, and this will be somewhat true for the other test. The combined armed forces of the United States will most likely contain enough plutonium close to the surface to contaminate them at their peak combat levels. However, only 5 ships went down, causing less damage than anticipated. Prince Eugen only sustained a bent foremast and a broken main masthead. According to the official assessment, 6 ships suffered substantial damage, while 8 more had impairments. In the actual world, 40 vessels would have been rendered inoperable. Less than a month later, the 4th test bomb, called Helen of Bikini, was detonated underwater. While the cruiser was unaffected, the surrounding region and other ships were severely contaminated by the fallout. The US was unable to clean the ships from the radioactive sea spray in time for the 3rd test to take place, and the island's residents were never able to return home. Prince Eugen survived 2 nuclear explosions, but 6 months later he was capsized and sank halfway into the sand of the shallow waters. Over 50 years later, her wreck is still visible in the same location, where new life is sprouting from the polluted zone and is now only of interest to divers. The people of Bikini were forced to move multiple times, at times literally starving to death, since the substitute atolls and islands could not support them. Based on an assessment by the Atomic Energy Commission, the Bikini Atoll was suitable for repopulation in 1968. The radiation exposure was severely overestimated by a factor of 100 in that analysis, causing people who returned to the atoll to leave by 1978. Adventure divers like the Bikini Atoll these days, some people claim that the fish are safe to eat and coral reefs are rebounding. The atoll is uninhabitable because it is impossible to consume the coconuts or the water. Unfortunately, the ultimate terrible delusion and the sad reality that Operation Crossroads produced for the Marshallese people was the hope of ever returning again. What other stories have you heard about Operation Crossroads? Do you have any personal experience during that time? Would you consider nuclear bomb a threat or a powerful weapon we could use to end war? Let's hear what you think in the comment section down below. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can always get to watch more incredible videos like this. This has been High Technology, serving you the best and cutting edge contents on the highest form of technology available on the planet. Until then, see you.